Kenya Meteorological Agency, and KALRO. We all agree that climate is very real, and because the climate has changed, agricultural practices must also change. Do we agree together? Because climate has changed, practices must also change. So want to see what these guys are doing here. So they've been doing some work in Murang'a, and we have the Honorable Minister, Professor Kiringai here of Agriculture from Murang'a County is here. They've been working in collaboration with KALRO. We have Simon Mulwa from KALRO is here. And we want to see what they're doing and how they are using climate, space, data, and agriculture together to serve the so-called smallholder farmers. So with their presentations, as the presenters are coming on board, I just want to them in a minute to introduce themselves. Simon, can you start in a minute?
Yeah, that's how we test the mic as Africans. Yeah, so my name is Simon Mulwa. I work for KALRO, Assistant Director in charge of ICT. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Simon Gachuere from Kenya Meteorological Department. Asante.
Good morning. My name is Godfrey Makokha, an associate professor at Taita Taveta University, where I also serve as the director of open distance and e-learning.
Good morning. I'm Kuria from Dedan Kimathi University of Technology in the Institute of Geomatics, GIS and Remote Sensing, where I lecture. I'm also the head of the Remote Sensing Research Group at the Institute. Thank you.
Good morning. I think my colleague from KMD is already predicting the time. It's in the afternoon. My name is Jack Matara. I'm the Deputy Director, Space Research and Innovation at the Kenya Space Agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Lawrence Nderu from Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology. I'm also the chairman of the Department of Computing and the founder of JHub, which is a digital innovation hub. Thank you.
Here you'll be hearing professors, doctors, space, remote, sensing, all that. Because he has to leave very fast, we'll give him a few minutes, 10 minutes to make his presentation, and then we proceed. Please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity. Sorry, I missed my opportunity in the morning. I think I looked at the schedule wrongly. Thank you. So I think the part that I'm so much interested is the innovations that do come from universities that tries to take advantage of the skills and the competencies that exist within the universities to solve problems in agriculture. And as you know, we are talking about climate smart agriculture solutions using data from various sectors. So what we have done, just to talk about the work that we are doing, we have built an innovation hub. It's called JHub Africa, which is based at Jomo Kenyatta University. And we are trying to see innovations that are coming up in innovations that we can nurture from the university. So one of the concepts that has been very interesting to look at is smart solutions. And I have had a number of talks around the smart solutions, smart city, smart agriculture, all these kind of things. And when we looked at the main challenge was that you are having data, for example, generated from various sectors and being used for specific instead of sharing data. And yet today, we have organizations like Fireware, which we are working with. So that's our pet project. We are working with Fireware, which provides, it's adopted, it's also an organization that provides standards, well adopted within the European Union as a standard organization. And we are working with them to make sure that we allow for data spaces. So the idea is that you have various sensors that people can use, whether you're in agriculture, whether you are doing smart cities. And then you can be able to provide access to those sensors and then have data, creating data spaces, which is somewhere that allows a lot of innovations to come in, and especially considering our ecosystem, which is the university. So we are testing that in 2 areas. One is smart beekeeping, which we have a project that uses the fireware. It uses the protocols that are being built by the fireware company to be able to store data. And then we also have the smart transport system that is within the city, which is also another project that is trying to use this concept. So the idea is, how can we optimize data sharing? Another challenge that we have seen, and I think I was mentioning that, is the issue of a lot of fragmented apps, which also maybe goes also fragmented data. How do you expect farmers to work with these apps? I mean, if you think about having an app that is supposed to help a farmer sense a machine learning based app that is supposed to help a farmer maybe identify diseases. Another one that is supposed to help them identify various pests. How do they work in that kind of thing? Do you expect the farmer to install all of these solutions? Now, we even have others that are using WhatsApp just to send a message and then you get some response. It's a solution that Microsoft is implementing. And I see there's a lot of fragmentation. It's something that we noted throughout as we were working. So how then do we create solutions in such a way that we will be able to aggregate the solutions that are coming and looking at business model? And those are the things that we are trying to answer at JHub. And I think maybe this is the highlight. You can check our site, which provides around ideas. We see that universities can be a very good catalytic to try and create ideas that can turn out to support climate smart agriculture, which of course solves a number of problems. Thank you.
Just leave it there. I have mine here. Okay, thank you. Let's move on. I want to say 2 things to the presenters. What can you do to make sure that your audience are not on their laptops or not paying attention to you? To the audience, what can you do so that the speakers can ensure that you're not on your laptops and you are paying attention to them? What can you do? You know, it's the last session of the day, almost lunchtime of the event. So I know it's likely to start switching your mind back home. But I think it will only be fair to be here and to get value for being here. Is that correct? Yeah, so let's move now to Matter Space. And we want to hear from Jack. Matter Space. You have a presentation today? Yes. Okay. Can you help? Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's good afternoon now. I think a minute past noon or something. So as I already mentioned, my name is Jack Matara. I am the Acting Deputy Director, Space Research and Innovation at the Kenya Space Agency. I also double up as the Space Education and Outreach lead also at this Kenya Space Agency. So I'm going to take you through a presentation just to highlight what the Kenya Space Agency is doing, especially in relation to why we gathered here, agriculture and other things. And then I'll let my colleagues, Dr. Kuria and Professor Makokha also, take you through some of the projects that we're working on together. So without much further ado, I think I'll begin. How do I control the slides? The arrows, okay. So the main thing is, that we're going to. So the main project that we're working on together is the small-scale crop mapping using Earth observation data and spatial technique in support of food security. No soldiers go to war on an empty stomach. All right, thank you for your support. Okay, So I will begin with probably something that some of you already know, just the history of the Kenya Space Program from 1964 with the establishment of the San Marco station in Malindi in partnership with the Italians and NASA in the background somehow. And then, of course, the cabinet in 1993 approving the establishment of the National Space Secretariat that was a precursor to the Kenya Space Agency. In 2016, we find that the cabinet approved the Kenya Space Policy and the Kenya Space Strategy. And through presidential order, the Kenya Space Agency was established, which of course is a milestone. And just to be able to grow the Kenya space sector. And in 2018, we had the launch of our first satellites, the first Kenya University nanosatellite precursor flight with the support from ASI, JAXA, and UNOSA. Then in 2020, we launched the KSA strategic plan that was to guide the activities of the space, our space program for 5 years. We've since revised that, and we have a new strategic plan that we launched, I think early this month. And then in 2023, we launched our first operational satellite, the Taifa 1, from the Vandenberg Space Base Force in US. And with that also comes, other things like, ground infrastructure facilities. We also have now a ground receiving station that we offer as a service, and also that will serve other envisioned launches. And then the Kenya Space Agency itself, after establishment, it was given a mandate to promote, coordinate, and regulate space-related activities in the country. So it's like, doing it all, because, the sector is still young. But, once we have a very vibrant and mature sector with the private industry, taking over most of these duties like promotion and coordination, then the agency will now move to regulation. And then the current projects that we're having, especially number one on space applications, is the data hub. So on data, we developing, it's at a very advanced stage, a data portal for dissemination of satellite data for, for even other sectors, space data cuts across, multiple sectors. We are here for agriculture, but the same could be used, for natural resources management, for agriculture, for, other things, disaster and all that. So, and our sector is also, I think, plugged with this individualism of sectors and agencies, just having data silos and not sharing data, which is of course not helping. So we have a plan of just making that available and also supporting the enhancement of the utilization of space data for socioeconomic development. And with that, we also have MIDST, which is also another project that we've been doing, which MIDST stands for Monitoring for Information and Decision Support Using Satellite Technology. And in all these, we are having, we're doing this in some multi-stakeholder, kind of way where we involve the private sector, government agencies involved in each of those particular projects, as well as academia. And we've seen, a lot of growth in the same. I'll speak about them, I think, in my next slides. And then there are, of course, pilots, agriculture, which is ongoing, and there's also for spatial planning, where we seek to establish Kenya National Observatory, where we want to use satellite data and other data just to be able to plan our growth, especially urban growth, and those kind of things, so that we ensure that we are developing smart cities that are resilient, inclusive, and all that kind of thing. And then for ground infrastructure, we are having operational space weather infrastructure across 3 universities. Taita Taveta is one of them, just to be able to monitor, space weather, because it affects a lot of operations that take place here on Earth. And then we have the square kilometer array. We want to be part of the SKA network. And then there is the ISONSCOPE telescope, which is the International Scientific Optical Network. That is another project that involves about 30 observatories across about 10 countries: Ukraine, Russia, US, a part of them, Spain, Moldova, and Kenya is also setting up a station at Kitui campus. That is affiliated to Kenyatta University. We want to be part of that network. And then there's also launch and satellite development, where we are having a lot of collaboration, especially with our African partners. There's the AFDevSat, which we are working together with Egypt, Nigeria, there's Kenya, Uganda, and I think Ghana. It's in development at the moment. Then there's the climate camera, which was also awarded to us by UNOSA and Airbus, where we are developing a climate climate payload to launch or to be hosted by the Bartholomew platform on the International Space Station. We're working together with Egypt and Uganda on the same. And then there's, of course, Taifa 1 that was already launched. Taifa 2 is, of course, in the kitchen as well, in collaboration with our Sayari Labs. It's a private company that is working on that. And then there's also the ground receiver station, one that is serving Taifa 1, and then one that is also meant to offer, services for ground receiver stations on those bands. We have UHF, S and X band. So if you have business for ground receiving station, or you're looking for those kind of services, kindly reach to us. It's already up and operational. And then we have what I think one of my best, duties and passion is outreach, catching them young. So this is just in an effort to be able to build our national space capability. And in this, we are doing a lot of, space education, outreach, and mentorship to schools, as young as elementary, level, secondary school, and even universities, just to be able to put this kind of, technology and opportunities in space out there to students, so that as they grow up, and they take STEM, they can be able to transition into successful careers in the space sector. So one of them is the Space Club, which is an initiative of KSA, just to be able to do mentorship. We have published books on that to simplify this complex language of, space engineer, systems engineering, Earth observation, space science and astronomy, IT and robotics, just to be able to, inspire these kids to follow those career paths. And we do a lot of education and outreach to schools. Tomorrow, actually, we will be at Embakasi Garrison Secondary School just to talk to those students. And we do more others. So if you have, opportunities for us to be able to interact with students and mentor them and talk about some of these things, we are also available. And then there's the GLOBE program, which is an initiative of NASA. GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment. And it's an international scientific and education program that is that focuses on improving the scientific literacy and understanding of the Earth systems. So students engage in practical activities. We have about 5 protocols where students, collect data and are able to do projects on things like the atmosphere, soil, water, land cover, and a lot of these things, even the atmosphere. And then we also engage in student research symposium. It's something that we're doing with the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development, just to have challenges to students in high school, in primary, to come up with projects on utilizing space data, Earth observation, just to be able to do these projects. And it's one that we are doing between Kenya, Rwanda, and Uganda. And then there's, of course, we also have a lot of equipment in terms of telescopes and planetariums that helps these students also appreciate space. And then for space research in universities, with me, I have colleagues here that, we've worked on several projects with. And we realize that, in universities, we have a lot of human capital, a lot of knowledge existing there. So just, supporting them with funding, initially just, from KSA, and then, of course, transitioning to some of our partners now, supporting universities, establishing research centers of excellence, and working together on projects for students just to be able to appreciate the practical aspect of whatever they are studying in school, so that when they get out, they know what work is like, not just to be so theoretical. So the first one was the new nanosatellite development, just to be able to give them an experience of development of satellites, the engineering behind all that. We involved 5 universities. And from there, we proceeded with 4 universities to continue with a 3U nanosatellite development. And then we also have the space weather monitoring. I mentioned that one, which is also a consortium of 3 universities. And then we have what we're going to showcase today, the small-scale crop mapping application using artificial intelligence and machine learning. That is also 5 public universities. And then, of course, we had 3 for Eldoret has also joined in, just to proceed to the second phase, including now what we're doing with Muranga. And then we have the development of land cover data collection mobile application that was also given to startups in Kenya to just develop, to help us to validate satellite data and that kind of thing. And then for MIDST, talked about this one. So the aspiration was to leverage free and open source data, especially from Sentinel, and we have Copernicus that offers a wide range of data just for some of these projects. And then, of course, the other was to build capacity in the utilization and development of EO-based systems to support decision-making process. And the focus areas that this project focused on was forests, urbanization, and of course floods, stroke landslides. But we more of focused on floods more, because that's more prevalent from what you've seen, in the past month with El Nino. So this was Abadeas, just to be able to look at the status of that particular forest over those years from 2016 to 2020. And then we had the urbanization. We worked with the county government of Nakuru just to be able to see how the town has been growing, expanding, and what kind of urban planning and spatial planning they need to put into place for sustainable and smart cities in future. And then we also did a flood mapping of Tana River with, in all these projects we had, all these kind of stakeholders I've mentioned, from those professionally involved in each of those areas, and also from academia, so that we can also do that, evaluation and learning and continuity. And for this was actually to try and develop an early warning system, and it's a project that is still in progress. And then stakeholder engagements, we've also been able to, because of now that element of coordination, just be able to, host events that, we have our stakeholders coming together to just, give views on the kind of, space sector that they want and contribute, and also be part of, the process. It's not just a KSA thing. And we had one in 2021, that is the space sector stakeholder forum that was themed the space sector that we want in Kenya, a conversation that was very successful. And from there, then we were able to hold a Kenya Space Expo and Conference in 2022, of course, now with participation from partners, locally, universities, and even from international. And then we've also had several engagements on geospatial practitioners meetings, that is between KSA and RCMRD, which are also one of our key partners, and just bring together all professionals in the industry to just have that discussion on how to grow the space sector. And then, of course, recently this year we had a workshop on agriculture, and the decision support platform. We also, I think that was preceded by one on the urban planning, the spatial planning and urban planning, where now plans to establish that urban observatory also is ongoing. Of course, things to do with data, how it is accessed, how we work together to be able to do that spatial planning for all our cities and even the whole country. And then we are now going to host a Kenya Space Expo and Conference, the second edition, between 18th and 20th June 2024. And we already have, our international partners, very supportive, Planet Labs, Druva Space, guys in Earth observation, guys in space systems engineering, and all these other partners coming to Kenya. We have our students involved. We'll have our private sector, government agencies, and I'm hoping to see all of you there so that we can be able to learn from each other. And the key highlights from this is now for the stakeholder forum at RCMRD. That photo was taken at RCMRD. Is that, these are some of the things that, we need to put in place to just be able to grow our sector and enhance, more utilization and uptake of space data. That is infrastructure facilities. We need to do capacity development. I think I've talked about that, sector coordination, legislation and policies that, enhance the growth of the sector. And then we have awareness, which is also very low on the potential of space data and technologies for socioeconomic development and decision support. And then research and development, which is key for growth of any sector. And then funding, and then of course the biggest of all, data on how we have that one together. And then in that conversation, this one came up where we need to establish, communities of practice, whereby, players in each of those particular areas come together just to share experiences and ideas on how we can, aggregate each of our efforts to have, a successful and a robust space sector. And then this is something that came up, data gaps, and of course, that comes with opportunities. We have the Open Data Cube, of course, data, hardware, software, and data. And then opportunities for Africa, leverage on free and open source data. And I think we're doing a very great campaign on that with our partners from, Europe, the European Space Agency, Expertise France, GIZ, and many others. And then, of course, how to make that one accessible now and for decision support. And then the requirements of Earth observation data in different sectors is also listed, the kind of resolution, spatial and temporal resolution required. And then, of course, also spanning across the other, sectors in navigation, positioning, satellite communications, as well as space systems, space science, and astronomy. And then this is the data hub that we are coming up with for centralized data repository. And we are, of course, reaching out to stakeholders to have all these available, from all sectors, so that, you never know, something from forest can be useful for somebody in agriculture or in urban planning and all that kind of thing, and then connect the same through a data cube using Jupyter notebooks, and then, of course, to be linked to a high performance computing, just, for ease of sharing and access. The discussion is still in progress. This should be up by the end of the year with a lot of data that people can use. And then this is the concept of the data cube that we are looking at having in that data hub. And what is next now is to take this, space to the village, just, that awareness, and make sure that we come up with applications that speak to the users on the ground, developing tools for land use, land cover, exploring available tools for crop mapping and yield prediction, as well as, policy and farmer advisory. And then this is my last slide now, just an invitation to you. If you want to participate, which I believe all of you want to, come learn, what is happening in the sector. If you need an invitation, kindly reach out to me. I also have a colleague in the room, Esther. You can, yes, just in case I leave early because I have another engagement, just reach out to him, then we'll be able to help you. Now I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Kuria, to take you through the next section. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. So, Dr. Kuria, mindful of time, the stopwatch is there.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So at the university, we have two main roles. The first one being training, and the other one being research. At the training level, we've been doing quite well, producing students whom have been absorbed in the various organizations. But on the research, we are lagging a bit behind. So listening to the presentation since yesterday from the various organizations, institutions, a lot was being said, but there was also a lot that was not being said. And these are the challenges that we go through before we can find these solutions. The second thing is the risks that we take. The risk that we take, you don't know whether you'll be successful in whatever you're applying, but we just say, let's go ahead and see what comes out of it. So today, I'll be presenting some of our results, a company that are an institution that decided to take a risk with the universities and see what can these research institutions do in the aspect of research. What can they do? So they took a risk and involved us in a small-scale crop mapping project where we were supposed to come up with applications to do crop mapping. So the terms were you have to be a multidisciplinary team. So it means, for example, in our case, we had somebody from computer science, we had people from mechanical, we had people from electrical, we had people from GIS. And so it was a multidisciplinary, each person bringing on board their expertise and so on. So the main objective was to build capacity and to promote the process of the development of these tools. And specifically, we were supposed to provide an application which will be able to conduct crop type mapping and classification using AI and machine learning. Provide an application able to estimate crop area, crop yield, and monitor the crop health. Provide a documentation of all these scripts, so whatever is being developed, provide it as a documented in documented form. Then the next one, develop a budget that was to support the implementation of the project. So the amount that was available to us was 500,000 Kenya shillings. So that is anything between 4,000 and 5,000 euros or dollars, depending on the exchange rate of the day. And then we have the use of AI or machine learning as a catalyst in the promotion of geography, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and that's in the GeoSTEM. So I'll jump straight into it. 5 universities were identified, each one providing a solution, which again, we were to come up and harness together. And all this was presented to the Kenya Space Agency for the same. And so we'll produce, these are some of the results that the students were able to produce. Remember, we were given a 5 months period. These are people who, in addition to carrying out the research, they had their assignments, they had their classwork, they had their co-curricular activities, extracurricular activities, and so there was a time management aspect. And despite all that, they were able to come up with an application, which these are mobile application available on the Google Play Store that could be able to collect all the information indicated there. So we have everything about the crop management system, take a photo of the crops in the field, identify the crops that are there, the planting period, all this information that was to be collected from the field. And from that, we had an interface. They developed also an interface, and this is what now was the interactive phase where now you could be able to choose what you wanted to do. So from the application, the mobile application, the data was being sent to a server. And now from the server, we could pull out the data for the various areas and undertake the various activities. So you can look at image preprocessing, the classification, crop area estimations, and the crop yield estimations and so on. So as you have seen, it's quite a rough draft given the time period that you are given. And of course, the Kenya Space Agency has continued to put their trust in us. And so they are funding a second phase of the same to try and package all these results into items that now can be rolled out for use by the communities. So our ask is, and probably Prof will be coming in there, do we have volunteers who are ready to take a risk with us as well? I leave it there. Thank you very much.
Thank you for keeping time. The volunteers are many. We are coming to that. Prof, come. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. In African context, long time ago, we used to have families traversing various landscapes to go and look for water. And therefore, they used to have in that context, they came up with a saying, because they used to have a lot of misfortune and they used to carry water in their pots. So that led them to have a small saying that says, actually, after that long journey, the pot usually breaks at the doorstep. So I hope you will be able to carry your pot into the house. We have been told that we are thinking about home. We beg you to give us a few minutes so that you can also hear what we are doing. So I will be talking about two things. One is about the stakeholders forum that my colleague talked about. We had stakeholders. And why did we have stakeholders? So that we can co-design. Co-designing a solution brings about equitable design so that everyone's views can be captured. And also it actually also reduces the design challenges that comes with a solution that is meant for a particular group. And therefore, in that stakeholders forum, we were able to get views. And the views were, we need to break down, we need to have target users or beneficiaries of these solutions that KSA want to develop, because we were told that sometimes we talk about farmers and we don't know where they are. We don't know who they are. And therefore, we need to have these target users, get to them, understand what they require, and how that can be able to translate to the solution that we are developing. Then what are the requirements? If we come up with such a solutions, what will be the requirements, the benefits and the potential earth observation tools and products? And therefore, one of the target users of farmer, of course, when we talk about agriculture, the elephant in the room is the farmer. And I want to thank the county government of Murang'a for being there for us, for taking this initiative. So the second phase will start in Murang'a. Murang'a County will benefit, will be the first beneficiary, and they will take us to the farmers. So we will have so many workshops with the farmers, trying to understand what they require. And this tool is not meant only for them, but also for policymakers who make decisions, like Kenya Space Agency, the county government of Murang'a, the national government, and other decision makers who support the initiatives of the farmers and also the agricultural sector. Then, of course, the research institutions, these are people who create solutions and also maintain those solutions. Creating is one, but you have also to maintain, you have to disseminate the information that you get. You also have to give that information to the scientific community. So we do the research with these solutions we put out, and I know someone will also research on the same and give us even better ways of improving those solutions. Then, of course, we have the geospatial technology companies that support precision agriculture, support with other technologies like drones and whatever not. We have so many companies that are in this sector. That solution must also give them the right information they require so that they can reach out to these farmers and other players. Then, of course, we have the NGOs and civil societies that deal with advocacy and support, and all of them also require a data, accurate or data that is close to accurate and near real-time data for their support. And of course, we have farmer service providers like M-Shamba, like Kilimo Hakika and others who are there to support the farmers and also provide services for them so that they can also improve in whatever they are doing. But to do this, there are some requirements, and EO data, we found out that EO data is one of the impediment. We thought through, if we have drone data looks fancy, but looks fancy at a small scale. It is only useful at a small scale. Talk about the whole country, talk about a whole county, talk about a region, East Africa region, we only remain with satellite data. But satellite data, they also have their own challenges, stemming from the spectral resolution, spatial resolution, radiometric resolution, and temporal resolution. The data that is available, that has global coverage, we know that is multispectral data. Multispectral data can only give us biophysical characteristics of the ground. Biophysical characteristic of the ground might not be able to address the problems that we have as a country. Our farming is most small-scale farmers, our main focus, because small-scale farmers in Kenya account for 75% of the output from the agricultural sector. 75%, and that is a very large amount that cannot be ignored. And therefore, how can we be able to help them? They have a challenge. Why? Because on small scale, they want to plant everything to maximize whatever they have. So someone has 1 acre and they want to plant all sorts of crops. And therefore, they start doing what we call mixed crop farming. And with that, there is no multispectral satellite data that can be able to separate the various classes, various crops. And now that one is out. Now that one leads us to hyperspectral data. Hyperspectral data can be able, of course, to give us the biochemical and biophysical. And through spectral and mixing, we can be able to get various crops, even at the smallest scale. But the challenge that we have again is that we don't have such a system that can be able to give us hyperspectral data at a regional scale. And this is a challenge that Kenya Space Agency has to give us a system hyperspectral system that can be able to give us at least country coverage. And with that, I think now we shall be able to improve the models, because as George Box said, all models are wrong, but others, some of them are, some are useful than others. But in machine learning, we say a machine learning model is as good as the training data. So you give it a good training data, you get better results. And that's why our requirement number one is critical. We might create the base system, but if we don't have the right data to do the calibration and to do the testing of the model to see whether it's performing well, it's just void. Also trained personnel. I like the argument yesterday that what is stopping us from developing is actually capacity. We don't have the right capacity. And that means that we need people who can be able to design algorithms, that they can be able to do spectrum mixing, to be able to interpret the results that come from the systems. I have been in many forums, and when the issue of mapping of crops come up and people come up with masks, they usually use one algorithm, not knowing that various crops respond differently to the spectral signatures, or they have actually different spectral signatures, and they require unique algorithms to be able to map, to create masks. Masks are, in simpler terms, are areas that are covered, geolocated areas that are covered by a particular crop. And we don't have, or probably we have those people, but we need to, because the technology is also changing very fast, training of personnel, if we want to go further, then it has to be our main goal. Then, of course, laboratory facilities, he talked about them, so I will not go through them. Jack has talked about them. Ground reference data, I have talked about this. The model is as good as when it comes to machine learning, we create good models, but without proper ground data, we are not going anywhere. And we thank County Government of Morang again for allowing us. We shall be going there to do ground truthing, collection of ground truthing data that can be able to support the development. And of course, there are some key benefits that stakeholders came up with. Because of interest of time, I am strict observer of time, so I will not be able to go through each one of them. So at least you have an idea of what we got from our colleagues in the stakeholders in the stakeholder meeting, and I thank KALRO for coming up very strongly in that forum. So for phase 2, we are doing phase 2 of the project. I have just talked about we are going to Murang'a to collect some data. And in phase 2, the objective is actually to develop a crop mapping and monitoring to create, so that we can be able to create a monitoring tool that can be used for advisory. We shall start with Murang'a, but of course the idea is to do a countrywide crop mapping model. And phase 2 now consolidates the efforts that my colleagues has presented here about. We had a product, but it's not a refined product. Can we learn from that, improve on that, and get more data, and try to see if available technology can be able to support? At least we have a decision based on the at least accurate data. I don't want to say true data because it's not. And of course, the research will be done. We have some efforts that have been done. We have COP for GeoGlam, that is Copernicus for GeoGlam. They have developed a product. You can be able to go. You can go there and actually see various crops throughout the country. It's a good system, but it has so many gray areas. those that we want to address. We also have NASA Harvest. NASA Harvest also does the same thing, but of course, if you compare the accuracies, they give different kind of results in some areas, and we want to leverage on those workflows and also those algorithms so that we can be able now to create a localized system that addresses actually our local challenges. And because of that, we will do intensive field work together with our partners, and also try to harmonize the mapping and advisory tools that can be used, to have just harmonized tool that can be used for forecasting and also for advisory to many stakeholders that are interested in this project. We have the methodology of doing this work. I will not go into nitty-gritties because it's not important, but of course we shall be borrowing from the workflow of the two systems, see if we can be able to do an improvement and have better results, and which can be relied upon by decision makers. Up to this end, there are a few areas that the agency feels that it can be able to get support, or it can cooperate with other like-minded entities, and that is in the area of data infrastructure, the area of cloud storage and computing credits, and also support of field activities such as field data collection, which is actually will take the biggest chunk of the funding, and also funding of scaling beyond Murang'a County, because we are starting with Murang'a County, but our aim is actually to have the countrywide coverage, and probably in near future, because Kenya Space Agency want to be the biggest player in the region. Why not escalate it to the whole region? Yeah, to the greater Horn of Africa. Why not? So up to that point, I want to thank you very much for your patience. And I know if there is any question, I know the team is ready to handle. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. You know, in Africa, when you become a professor, you forget your name. We just call you thank you, Prof. I wonder why we can't remember their names. Okay. Okay, so we want to move to KMD, and then we move to KALRO, which is the last. So if your energy level is going down, don't worry, we're almost finishing. And don't hate space. Let me tell you, I don't hate discussion around space data. I started using space data in 2016, and that time I was using dark sky, data from dark sky, because we didn't have any data from Kenya Space Agency. Thank God we're going there. And using dark sky data, I was able to come up with innovation of a platform that could predict weather accurately up to 95% for the next 5 days, and giving you chance and amount. And that earned me a world award in 2016. So in 2016, I was the climate prize award winner just because using space data. So you could be another award winner by hearing this. The second thing I want to say, I've been working with GeoClam, NASA Harvest for quite some time. I'm glad you're honest that the outcome of those models are not accurate. And the day that they will be accurate, I'll resign and go farm. Because they will give a lot of change. Because you can do proper yield forecasting, which NASA is trying to do, yield estimation. If you could do crop monitoring, which GeoClam is trying to do, for the last 10 years, we've never been able to achieve that. If we don't achieve that, you will not be a professor. I'll demote you. KMD, do you have a presentation? Okay, please move. Surely I'll demote them.
Okay.
Let's use this.
Oh, sorry.
Where's our technical lead? You know you are there.
Yeah, it's this one.
Which one? Oh, Simon. Eh? And they've all gone out. Okay. We might have to come out. Where is Kanika? Can you get her for me? Or you can, yeah, we need to swap a little bit.
This is your presentation.
This one, yes. Simon, this one. But then it needs to work.
Hold on here. Can I get in here?
Oh,
Right here, this one? This one?
Yes, that one.
Let's see.
Yes.
No?
Yes, that one.
can you try 15 minutes?
Yeah, I will try.
Try 15 minutes.
Okay.
Let me start. Okay, so matters climate. Then we finish with how that's being applied in practice in KALRO.
So, my name is Simon Gashiwere. I was invited by Mr. Ram to talk a bit about climate information services. So, I'll talk about some of the services we do. These are specifically related to agriculture. So, I'll talk about climate information. That is part of what we give as a service. And then we co-produce the advisories. And then dissemination of those advisories, and also climate information. And then monitoring, implementation, and feedbacks. And then I mentioned a bit about challenges and gaps. So climate information, areas that we are related to agriculture includes seasonal forecasts. We normally give onset and cessation of a season, the onset and cessation dates, at the length of growing of the rain period, and then expected amount, and expected distribution of the season, of rainfall during the season. Then we also give weekly forecasts, which Dr. Kuku wanted to steal from us. But we also do ourselves. We give the amount and also the qualitative daily amount. I mean, rainfall and weather in general on daily basis for 7 days, 5 and 7 days. Of course, not just rainfall, also other weather parameters. Then also daily forecasts. And then also we do a lot of climate analytics. Things like variability of climate, climate change, impacts of weather and climate. Then we are also involved in part of our task is to collect climate data, both observed and graded. Graded, you have talked about. Graded is the one that you combine with the satellite data. And we have really talked about that. So I think we already understand what it means. And also satellite images, you have also talked. The Kenya Space Agency are also, I think we are working with them in that area, and also other organizations. Impact data, we also collect that data. Hazards like the recent floods we had, drought, and others. Crop and pasture performance. Once we give climate information, we normally convert that information into that climate information into advisories. Advisories is what is usable to the farmers. So we give advisories on the crops maybe the crops to be grown, the varieties to be grown from the, let's say, from the seasonal forecast, for example. The hazards and risks that are likely to occur in a season, and the probable actions that can be taken in that area. Water resources, how are they likely to be, and what are the recommendations? Areas like health, which is maybe it's not part of here. Weather insurance, I think you have really talked about that. I will not go back into it. And also, we agree. I'll say that for the advisories, you do not alone, but with others who are in that area of agriculture. So we do together. Then from there, after producing the advisories, we disseminate those advisories. In the past, we have been using barazas, radio, SMS, WhatsApp, and a website. And recently now we have roped in the KSA platform in collaboration with IRRI, and we are doing that very well. Then from there, after giving the advisories and disseminating, we should also monitor how the advisories are performing on the ground. Are the farmers implementing those advisories as we give them? Were the advisories correct? Were they timely? Were they adequate? And part of the feedback is how to improve that. Challenges and gaps include lack of enough human resource and capacity or expertise in the area of human resource, infrastructure, and equipment. As you know, we are a government agency, so we are really affected by those challenges. So to solve those challenges, we recommend digitization of most of our services, digitization and automation, and also improve partnerships. Already we are doing a lot of partnerships, but maybe you can go a bit higher than that. I want to give an example of automation that we are doing in partnership with IRRI through the ICRA project. There is our mobile data collection application that we have made together. And it is really, the application is being used by our farmers to collect data, both rainfall and crop data. We are also working with we have worked with the IRI on climate analytics, where we introduced the CDT, that is climate data tool, and a program called ENACT, and also Mapuns. And we have done a lot of climate analytics in that area. For the mobile data app, I can show just a sample of the benefits you are getting from there. Let me see whether it can work. Oh, okay. That is the kind of data you are getting from. Unfortunately, I don't know how to move to. Yeah? Okay. No, it's already there, but I wanted to show just 2 sheets. Huh?
To which one?
The sheet you are seeing there is
Look here.
the daily rainfall data. Okay, now the crop data now. Yeah.
I'll stay here.
And that is an example of the crop data we are collecting. Okay. 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 So that is the kind of data you are getting. The rainfall data they normally collect on a daily basis, once per day, and they get the data, and within seconds, we have that data in our where we are. So, and crop data they normally collect once per week and they feed in the app, and they also take a photo. They also take a photo, and they upload that data once per week, and we are getting a lot of data from there. Yeah, that's okay. Sorry, sir, you can go to.
I know I have to move. Can I stand
Okay,
right here to do
okay,
this?
okay.
Thank you. I understand. I know. I have to get it back into the slide.
Okay.
What are you trying to show now?
I'm trying to show this.
You want to put that there? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You're looking at this, right?
Okay. So this is part of partnerships that we need to talk about, because you see, as professionals, we may not be very good in ICT, but you see, we need somebody, ICT person near to work with us, so that everything can work in a complete manner. So what you can see is yeah.
Going back to the slide now?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I can see from there.
Want this one?
Let me show you.
I need to know what you want. Do you want that one here?
I want to explain here.
Okay, you explain.
Yeah, what you can see now is some of the crop data that some farmers have been uploading in the app. And you see, we are able to monitor how a farmer's crop, since planting, since the time of sowing up to the harvest, you can be able to monitor very clearly how the crop is moving. Like this one was maize, the Duma 43 maize at our farm in Ebu. You can see the time it was planted. You can see how it has been growing all around. You are able to monitor on a weekly basis. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to put the data up to the end. But what happened at the last slide, that was on around 5th, that May, a dry spell occurred. And that means, although it looks very healthy, it was affected by that dry spell. It is still, they are still likely to harvest something, but the harvest may not be. Initially, at this point, it was a bumper harvest, almost 100%. But as of now, because I monitored recently, it is almost, they will harvest around 50 to 60% because of that dry spell that occurred immediately after around at the time of this photo was taken, immediately after. So those are the kind of things you are able to monitor. And the advisories now we give together with the agriculture, the Minister of Agriculture can now go around what you can already see on the ground. So you can go back. Yeah. Okay. So another example I will give is the work what I've said we are doing with the IRI. IRI, we worked with them in this project called ENACT. That is Enhancing National Climate Services Initiative. And they introduced the CDT tool, which using that tool, we have been able to produce some very good climate analytics called, and put them in the website called, in the internet. They are available freely. They are called Maplum. The system is called Maplums. So that is part of work we have done with them. one can't be seen. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, this one I copied from one of my colleagues who was in the team. So the tool, there are so many tools that are in it, in the system. Map generation tools, climate drivers and extreme indices. There are so many analysis tools to merge the data, tools to extract the data, including satellite data, and also how to combine it with the observed data, quality, and also for quality control. So there are so many things you can get from that system. I'm not going to details. So it has modules for data import, both from satellite and also from observed data, and also how to aggregate the data, and all those data management tools are there. You see, like this one is data, satellite data download tool, where you can choose from where you want to download the data from Thamsat and from other sources. Let me not go into that. This is an example of how rainfall and satellite data is merged. You see, you have one layer for rainfall observed data and satellite data, and you're able to merge the two. And that is part of what we are doing actively at the moment. And that is what we are producing as graded data from there. So this is my last slide. This one I wanted because I was told I've come to the ICT team. so I wanted to give a challenge to the ICT team here. What you can see from there is an example of climate information analytics that has not been automated. But there is a lot of information in it. So I want to give a challenge to the ICT community in agriculture to automate this. Can you automate that map? Can you, from what you can see from here is the variability of rainfall at a station in Kitui. Both the March, April, May seasonal amount and October, November, because we have 2 seasons in Kenya, as we are aware. So the amounts for the 2 seasons, historical amounts. And what you can see is a lot of variability in rainfall data since 1980. I didn't have time to complete up the current. We still have the data. But already from there, you can see the high variability of rainfall in just one station. There was a time MAM rainfall in 1980, sorry. In 1980, you can see we had the MAM rainfall was around 100 millimeters. And also was followed by the OND season, also less than 100 millimeters. So that was a very dry year, 2 seasons following each other. But you had years like 1990, where the same station had very high amount of MAM rainfall, almost 500 millimeters, and then followed by ONDC rainfall, which was of 700 millimeters. So that one is showing the high variability of rainfall seasons in that one station. So that is one information you can get from there, the high variability. And when you are forecasting, when you are doing predicting a coming season, are you going to predict this rainfall of 1980? And by then there was another year, for example, 1983. There was zero. Time, eh? Okay. Okay, sorry, I'm just finishing. This is my last slide. Eh? So you can see it's also showing the onset dates every year and also cessation dates, which are also the higher variable. So my challenge to the ICT team, this one map can have all the information you need for that one place. And you are talking about characterizing impact. If we can have this information, both analyzed and also predict the same, analyze and predict the same automatically, we can solve a lot of information problems. So I will stop there because of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Simon, thank you. And I think as we welcome Simon Mulwa, who will basically tell us how does all these space data, Earth ocean data, met data, ground data are now applied to help farmers. That's what it's coming to do. Just as it puts the challenge, I also want to say that bias correction remains a key challenge. So as you push the challenge to them, also let's think about how do you ensure bias correction, particularly on the graph you've just shown. Simon, come in. And Simon, the stop clock is here. What's your presentation?
Yeah, my presentation is already.
Which one is it?
So it's the same deck?
Yeah, that one.
This one?
Yeah, true.
So I know this is the last one. So can we encourage him, because half of you are sleeping, 3/4 on their laptop, the rest on their phones, only one person attends.
All right, thank you, Doc. I hope I will be able to keep everyone awake. But before I came here, I had a talk with Lunch, and Lunch said I could take all the time I need. Yeah, so allow me to begin my presentation. So basically it will be on the role or what KALRO is doing basically on the e-extension. I will talk about the management of it and also the integration possibilities because of the various stakeholders that we have here. I would have wanted to spend some time and explain what KALRO is, but basically KALRO was formed in 2013 through an act of parliament. We have 3 mandates that are very important to us, basically to streamline research for crops and livestock, and also to coordinate the same. And today we are here because of the mandate number 3, which is expedite equitable access to research and information. And for that, KALRO, we have undertaken various initiatives to make sure that this information has been translated and is available for consumption by the various users. You've heard the previous presenters who are doctors or professors, which I'm not, but I'm very good at giving this information. So as KALRO, we have around 21 centers across the country. It's a very rich network, and around 34 sub-centers. So in line with today, is just to appreciate why agriculture is very key as a country to a country like Kenya, and the role it plays. Just some statistics for us to appreciate that. And also highlight some of these challenges that farmers are facing from the climate and unpredictable impacts. Things like pest and disease, and limited access to some of the technologies and modern practices that they would want or wish to have so that they improve their production systems, and the need for sustainable practices. As we begin, it's good to appreciate as KALRO where we started. And we started a while back, this journey back in 2013, where through innovations and emerging ICT tools and research, and of course applying digitization, we were able to create various use cases which were converted to products and services, which based on the research information that we had and in cooperating with IT, we released some useful products and services that improved the services of smallholder farmers and other stakeholders. And once we had these products available, we went ahead to build a capacity to various stakeholders on how to use and access these systems. And by doing that, we were able to scale up in terms of adoption of various systems that we had. Just to give an overview of some of the KALRO Z extension platforms and how the journey has been over the years, is that we began by first acquiring what we call a big data platform. So this platform allowed us to have the necessary ICT infrastructure that is possible or capable of creating systems, and out of those systems, through data analysis, merging the various data sets that are coming from either the climate from KMD, Tomorrow Now, Tomorrow.io, and the various other sources where we can be able to get such kind of data, incorporate the same with our own agro advisory data as KALRO, paying attention to aspects like the agroecological zones that are throughout the country, so that we can give precise advisories and specific to the farmer needs. And speaking of the farmer, we now have a database of around 6.4 million records that was collected through the KIAMIS tool. This data is also hosted in the same big data platform. Currently, we are also doing the soil mapping. And based on having the big data infrastructure coupled with the climate, agro, or research information on the various crops and livestock, and incorporating the same with soil, my namesake, as mentioned, when it comes to shapefile, you just need to overlay the same. And if we are able to overlay these data sets, then we will not only be able to give a very precise advisory to farmers, but more so give an advisory that is specific to a farmer and not general. In a few slides, I will be able to show how we are able to do that with one of the tools that we have. We also have what we call the agripreneur model. So this model is going to improve the access to extension services throughout the country by basically having youth agripreneurs throughout the country who will be able to interface with the farmers on a daily basis. Some other tools that we've come up with is the KALRO, which has famously been mentioned throughout the session. We also have the Kenya e-extension platform, which brings all the applications that as KALRO we've developed, which are going more than 60, available on the Play Store. And as that it has been also quoted that there's a need to have one system that incorporates all these apps, and that is the Kenya e-extension platform. We also have the Kenya Agro Advisory Call Center that has a toll-free number where farmers across the country can call, and we can also interact with the same. One of the biggest systems that has brought impact, and that is showing the importance of such kind of sittings or scenarios we are in today, is what we call the digital climate advisory services. In line with the main topic, which is localizing impact, I'll be able to show you how this tool is doing that, coupled with other products like the KALRO selector. So on this slide, we just show you what we call the Kenya Digital Agriculture Platform. It's a mobile app that is available also on an online platform where you can access a one-stop shop for all the innovations that have been created by KALRO and partners. And from there, you can navigate to whether it's KALRO selector or any other mobile app, dashboard, and portals for data access and data request. The second one is a KALRO system that gives advisory on weather. And this in a system, like I mentioned, is pulling information from Tomorrow Now. From KMD, we are able to fetch data from KMD every 10 minutes throughout a network of automated weather stations that are currently across the country. Coupled this with information from Tomorrow Now, we are able to create a very good forecast that is helping farmers. We not only give advisory on weather, but again, we also tell farmers what to grow, where, when, and how through some of the services that we have, like the KALRO selector. Where using this, you are able to just use GPS, and from your phone, it will show you based on your location, which varieties, whether it's crops or livestock, that you can grow there. Among other notable mobile applications we have is what we call the Laikipia Gaps, which is presumably meant for Laikipia County as crops that are coming from there. And it also has some aspect of being translated to local languages so that it's easier for farmers to consume. Then we have the KALRO teams. So here you can find basically every value chain that has been released over the years. This one can be good for stakeholders, like people who want to do research, because here we have a very rich database of very detailed information about each specific crop or livestock. As I mentioned, one of the cutting-edge solutions that we've provided as KALRO, and with support from our other partners, is what we call the DCAS. So like I mentioned, this is a digital climate advisory service. So how the DCAS system works is that because we now have all the farmer records, and these records are showing each activity that the farmer is undertaking in line to crop production or livestock production. If I know Dr. Akuku is farming maize, then I don't need to send him a general advisory that is talking about beans or sorghum. So I go specifically to send him advisory that is talking about maize. Since I have the GPS location of where Dr. Akuku's farm is, I'll not send him a general weather forecast, but rather send him weather forecast that is specific to his farm. Since I know he's growing maize and I have the cropping calendar for the entire country, and I know the cropping calendar of his exact location, then I can give advisory through the entire maize value chain, all the way from land preparation to post-harvest. And this way, with the additional data that will start coming in through the agripreneur model, then we will now be able to know what he's doing on a daily basis, from getting seasonal data to transactional data to routine data. And you can imagine how that data set will look like if I couple that data set of farm records with soil data, pest and disease shape files, then the advisory will continue becoming more localized, and that cuts into our today's agenda. In line with the integration possibilities that we have on these e-extension platforms we have, is to mention that as KALRO, we've made the information central, meaning that we have unified databases that have real-time synchronization, so that anyone who wants to get information that is in line with the data protection, then all you need is what we call APIs. I think Simon has mentioned that we do not, he has to have an ICT standing by. I will make sure to assign him one when he wants to access such kind of data. Then we have interoperability. Again, the issues of API integration. So we have systems that are designed in such a way that if you only want to access the number of cows that are in the country, I don't need to give you the entire data set of the farmer record, and you can only pull information that is specific to that. And I don't think there are any rules that govern you not accessing the number of cattle we have in Kenya. Then we have enhanced user experience. As you'll be able to interact with some of these apps, you will see that these apps have been improved to cater for the various users, whether farmers and other stakeholders. So for farmers who have feature phones, we send SMS messages using the DCAS. Like I mentioned, we are able to send these messages all the way from planting to post-harvest to markets. We have the advanced analytics. Our systems are able to do what we call cross-platform data exchange, meaning we'll be able to interface and interact with any other system that is designed using, of course, the current languages that we have. And Simon, when I say language, I mean computer languages. Then we have mobile and offline capabilities. Our mobile apps are available for mobile users who are in areas where you don't need internet 24/7. So we have the offline functionality, and of course they are user-friendly. As I move towards the end of my presentation, I mentioned where we started, so it's also good to mention where we are going. And a lot has been said in terms of AI. I know we are talking about artificial intelligence, but before we even get to dive into artificial intelligence, my former boss, who is seated behind me, I'll not mention his name, has already started talking of generative AI. So we have all these terms: machine learning, neural networks, generative AI, deep learning, but all these buzzwords that mean absolutely nothing to Simon if they do not come up with the correct products and services that he can interact with. And Simon can be a farmer, can be a stakeholder who doesn't understand anything to do with deep learning or neural networks. And the output of that, we are looking at things like intelligent AI chatbot, where I will go in, just type a few commands, whether in my native language or English, and I'm able to interact with that system to help my farming enterprise. And some of the stakeholders, obviously the key one is the farmer and other policymakers. When I was writing this, it was almost midnight, since Ram had not told me I have a presentation. So I wrote ETC, since I couldn't think of all the other partners that are involved. And yes, that is my handwriting. Otherwise, thank you.
I hope he was not referring to me as his former boss, because I was the one sitting behind him. Someone, who are you referring to? Not to me. Okay. Okay, so we have 7 minutes for questions and answers. I hope we can make it so that we can go for lunch. First of all, can we give a clap for the presenters? I'm not sure whether some of you were bored, whether you were enjoying, but me, I was enjoying. Okay, so quickly, if you have a question, you can say for who. Yes, there are so many hands. So ladies first, but men ahead. Eh? So this lady. Your name and who you are basically asking the question.
All right, thank you, moderator. Gertrude Naluvenga is my name, from Farm Radio International. Mine is more of a comment. First, I thank the presenters for what they've shown us. It's really tremendous and good. Mine is a comment about human resource capacity. About 2 or 3 of the presentations have mentioned that there is lack of capacity or trained personnel. I think it's high time. I know you're doing some things like the Kenya Space Agency mentioned about youth, young people's space clubs. That's good. I think that we are not doing enough on being intentional with capacity building for our human resource, and this is a threat to sustainability of what we have started. So if you know something and you've not passed it on well, then it may not be sustained. So what am I saying? That we need to get intentional. For example, budgeting for human resource development. If we are able to get volunteers from developed countries to come and learn from our context, why aren't our governments and universities that are training students not doing the same and connecting our students and following up? I know there are some agreements made. For example, if I've put you in that institution, you've gained skills for the country, why then are we having brain drain or losing those human resource? So we need to get intentional to plan and to budget.
Summarize. So
yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, so she's saying, it's a comment, so it does not need an answer. So I think we have heard that all is saying, can we be intentional about capacity building? Okay, so there is, because of so many hands, so we might go to 2. Do we go up to 2? Huh? Okay, fine. So there were some hands here. Let me finish that table. Then we go to that table. Then we come here. Then we go there. Then we go there. Then we go everywhere. Go ahead. Yes.
All right.
No, let that table finish. Ram, just have a seat. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Ram now is my boss. He's sitting behind me.
Thank you so much. My name is Stephen Korir from Amini. Now, we've been having these talks about harmonization of data collection, because when the consortia of universities, the representatives were talking, they were talking about going to collect training data from the field. Now, I believe that in these county governments, we have ministries of agriculture that are always doing crop census each and every time. Could we start from the county of Murang'a so that we equip those people who are doing crop census such that they will go and collect all the data sets that will be needed by the consortia of universities, so that we try this thing that we say we don't want duplication of efforts? Because we've been having this problem that we are working in silos. Every institution is going to collect data.
Okay.
So
okay, so
we want to start, yeah.
Okay, so your question is that could we empower the counties to collect routine data?
Yes, and Kenya Space Agency was talking about a data hub. How can we harmonize all these processes so that we only have one place where we collect data and get standardized data from?
Okay, fine. So I use my veto powers to ask the Honorable Minister of Agriculture in Murang'a, who is currently collecting the crop cut data, because I know who is collecting it. So can you tell us who is doing that? Honorable Minister is not horrible, is honorable. You know, some of them are horrible, but this one is honorable.
Thank you very much, Boniface and Kuria. What I did present in the morning was the integrated food systems operating system. And what we were saying is that Murang'a is going to be capturing transactional data when farmers are delivering their produce to those farm hubs that I was showing in the diagram that I showed as on the first page. So in a sense, what I'm saying is we have the devices for collecting data remotely as farmers deliver their produce to aggregation centers. What we are doing with the Kenya Space Agency is to now also map what we expect to be delivered to the aggregation centers, so that as the KMD was showing, we will actually be in a position to predict what we expect to trade and how we can market our produce. So in a sense, what we are saying that what is being done by the Kenya Space Agency is already being supported by Gordon, and we have made some progress in that direction. We are working very closely with KALRO and other partners, and KALRO comes very strongly with the World Bank programs that we are working with. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Kenya Space Agency, are you able to get crop cut data from the county? And can you get them in one place? Or between you, between KALRO, between KMD, where should they go? Because that's what the gentleman is saying. They are going everywhere. So where should this data go?
Yeah, the data that we are collecting actually, when we say data collection, it also means that you are going to assess whatever has been collected, see if there is any gap, and fill those gaps. Okay, and also advise the county on probably the kind of data they can also collect, so that we have a comprehensive database, and that data will be hosted at Kenya Space Agency. And I know Kenya Space Agency will also provide a platform where the public can be able to access. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you get your answer? Or they confused you further? Okay, let me clarify a few things. Number one, the crop cut data is the mandate of the Ministry of Agriculture, but devolved to county. So the people who actually collect crop cut data is actually county, because crop cut is collected at a ward level. Then that is aggregated at county level and then submitted to the national office. So that's the model. The challenge we don't have enough data collectors to give us crop cut data. because there are very few extension officers. That's the challenge we have. And that's why these models of yield forecasting has never been accurate. Your model is as good as the quality of the trend data. We never have that, we never go anywhere. For the last 10 years I've been in the sector, never achieved this. We are getting results like 40 bags an acre in Kilifi. It can't happen. Why? Because of poor trend data. So what we need to have, how can we improve the quality of data that is coming from the ground? And how can we use ICT to address that? Agri-program model will address that. Next table. I hope now you understand. Now, where it goes is not immaterial, is not material for me. We're in the cloud era. It can be in the cloud, which could be in my house. It can be the cloud, which is in your house. The question is, can I access it? We should not debate who hosts it, who keeps it, where it rests. We should debate accessibility. It doesn't matter where it is.
Okay, all right. My name is Femi Adekoya, and I'm also, I provide drone services. My question is to Professor Godfrey. And as regards comment that Mr. Boniface made, the accuracy of the predictions. Now, and he said over 10 years now. Now, the question is, I know that prediction of things like this can be complex because it's not actually one variable. I want to ask, what are the progress over time that you have actually, in terms of success? It cannot just be, it's not accurate, it's not accurate. Something must improve over time. And I also want to clearly ask you, in your project, in small scale mapping, how are you leveraging unmanned area vehicles in your work, particularly? Yeah, those are my questions.
Because of lunch, I want us to be precise and articulate in the questions and in the answers so that we can finish. I hope you got his question. Yes. All of us be articulate in the question and in the answers.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Where we are as of now, the model that we have created for yield prediction is at 80%, which is very low. According to me, that decision cannot be made at 80% accuracy. And we are using UAVs, but UAVs, agricultural data changes all the time. Phenological stages changes all the time. And therefore, flying drone each and every time can be very expensive. And I think for temporal, especially on large scale, assuming you are doing a whole county and you want for a whole county, the only way satellites can be very good because of their temporal revisit period. Some of them is very good and it can be capture well the phenological changes. Unfortunately, because of spatial and spectral resolution, low spectral and spatial resolution, we might not be able to gain much from them. And that's where the improvement must be focused.
Okay, thank you. I hope he is tried to be articulate, okay? If you have a challenge, talk to me or talk to him. Next.
Hi, I'm Haro Maksaidu from the Tony Blair Institute. 2 questions for KALRO, please. One, if you would have to narrow down to setting up this digital infrastructure, what were the 2, you would say, top 2 challenges that you faced in setting up all of this? The second question is, with the 6,000/6 to 7 million farmers, are all of them getting the extension messages at this point, or you're still piloting with a subset?
Simon?
I think I can start with.
It's okay. It's on. Proceed.
I can start with the last question. When we started sending messages, we were sending using the first data set. That was around 500,000 farmers. And since the introduction of the new data set, we have onboarded the 6.4, and they are currently receiving. And it's a process. The farmer registration is a continuous process because some of the farmers were either missed or were not enumerated. So as we speak, we still have teams in the counties that are collecting data, and as this data is coming in, they are still getting onboarded into the SAM. When you ask about the challenges that we had when setting up this, I mean, as a government entity, financing was a problem for this guy, but we did crack it. And apart from there were not so many players in the sector that time that could give support as we have right now. So we were going solo. So I think those are the main highlights. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon. I hope you're satisfied. Any question on that table? Okay, no question. Then let me move to this table.
Yeah, thank you. My question is to KMD, and thank you, Simon, for the excellent presentation. I'm interested to know some of the dissemination channels you're using specifically in the drylands, and whether you see an opportunity to kind of leverage some of the platforms that were presented in the morning, including the CASNet platform, as a way of disseminating information, including the forecasts.
Yes, Simon.
In the dryland areas, all those channels are highlighted there. We normally use them, radio, SMS, email. We also put the information on our website. Also WhatsApp groups are there. But I know the penetration is not enough, and also the channels are not consistent, because in most cases you use projects. Yeah. So when the project is not there, so the channels are not there. So I'm sure you are working with the currently with through IRRI. There's a lot of work we are doing with them to see how we can integrate with the, for example, KOP, and maybe also CASNet can also come in, and many other channels. That is why I talked of partnership as a solution, because as Simon has said, we are a government agency, so resources is a big problem. So if you can find ways of partnering and also automating some of those dissemination channels.
Thanks, Simon. I hope you're satisfied. Okay, thank you. Okay, Simon, you want to add something?
Yeah,
Okay.
because I'm also named Simon, I can also comment. So I want to, I appreciate that question, because like you mentioned, we are trying now to work with RAM and the team here to try and integrate some of the systems you have, like the KaiserNet. The name always runs away from my head. Yeah, so that we bring it on board on some of the existing platforms we have, and that is also in line with the integration that we are talking about in terms of the systems that are in the ecosystem. Thanks.
Can I book a lunch date between the two of you? Can you please have a lunch date, the three of you, so that next week I want to see Skynet in the KOP.
We need gender balance. So
gender balance.
If Kanika can join, then we
Kanika, can you join the lunch date? Okay. Please, let's join that meeting and let's see it next week once it's there. The framework is ready. Okay, any question from this table? No question, that table, yes? I'm coming to you. There are many hands here. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Joel, my question is on the inconsistencies we see in weather prediction, especially for the rural farmers. How are we, or how is the meteorological agency trying to make sure that we have accurate weather prediction? Because the farmers are losing trust in the prediction. So how do we build that trust?
Simon, the issue of trust and accuracy in the weather predictions.
First of all, I want to say of late, I think we have really improved a lot. I think everybody is agreeing that we are quite ahead. And I think part of the reason why we have this kind of improvement is, again, partnership. Because again, we are working with many other partners in the production generation of those forecasts. So I think there is a big improvement, but still there's room for more. And I think the ICT sector here, that is why I said we need to work hand in hand with the professionals. Because you'll find a very simple step takes a lot of time and maybe even a misstep just because of lack of enough ICT. So if you can really work together, I'm sure you can get, you can fill the gap.
Thanks. So just to help Simon clarify a few things for all of us, I've been in the climate space and weather space now for quite a lot of time. In fact, I talk like a meteorologist. Well, I'm not. One of the challenges that why the accuracy is a challenge that the weather variabilities is too high. The changes in the atmospheric, what we call atmospheric changes, is not in control of anybody. Now the wind could be blowing this way. In another 10 minutes, it's just blowing that way. The clouds have gone. Now, to improve accuracy is number one, triangulate many data sources from satellite, from ground. Remember, we don't have enough ground stations everywhere in the country. And that's why they're working partnership with satellite companies or companies that are in the space, in the satellite space, because at least the satellite, some of them visit every hour. And that's now we talk about gas to wind measurement. We talk about nowcast. So that's one area. Number two is modeling, and let's talk about capacity building. You can have all this data. If you don't have enough climate scientists that can run accurate models, then your prediction will be wrong. And again, that's why partners come in, because we don't have enough climate scientists in our meta agencies in Africa. They like that in NASA, in European Copernicus, in SANSA, we don't have them. And that's why partnership becomes very critical to leverage. The third one is compute resource. Satellite data is heavy, temporal, spatial, all these, you need to aggregate them and you need compute power. So that is what the Met Agency needs to be accurate. Next question. That table.
Yes. My question is to KALRO. First, it's a comment, and so on the data, so I'm with Akulima. We do smallholder like stock exchange on prices on commodity, and one of the biggest resources we've had on getting what capacity and what crop is growing is the brokers. So we learned not to cut out the brokers. So they actually tell us what is growing in a certain area because they're the guys on the ground, and they're not really not agricultural experts, but they are market experts. So I think that's somewhere we could look at. But my question is KALRO open to opening up the data they have? And if we can partner with people like AWS to bring in infrastructural support, would it be something which we can openly get an API, because that is something of great value to us and a few other players?
Yeah, I think, thank you for the comment and the question. I think when you say data, there's a tradition where everyone is saying, can KALRO open the data? But to answer the question is, I always want to see the specific data request, because when you say data, that's an ambiguous statement. So if you come and the data that you need does not infringe on the data protection rights, I think that's a discussion that can be entertained. But again, like we say, we can meet behind the tent and then we explore that more. But the opportunities for collaboration are always there. Then we discuss on a case by case. Thank you.
Another lunch date. Do you need a gender balance? Yeah. Okay. I hope you're satisfied. Yes. Next question on that table.
This is Charles Onyango, PhD, student climate change and adaptation, University of Nairobi. I had a question on data sharing and centralization since the discussion yesterday. I think much of it is answered, but I wanted to get your comment on monetization of agricultural data. This is in general context, and picking your view in terms of data privacy issues. But also, just back to what I had wanted to ask, with all these issues of API linking this data, centralizing this data, can we have an attempt of documenting, even having a website documenting, if you want this data, this is where to go to. If you want this particular data, this is where to. A central place where at least a library where you can get, like the presentation we have had here with KALRO, it is showing where all the apps are and what you can get. Can we have an attempt to have even a website documenting where you can get each specific data?
Simon, be brief.
Yeah, yes. Just to mention, we do have a platform that we use for data sharing. It's called the Kenya Data Sharing Platform, or KADP. And in that system, we already have API endpoints that you can call and make requests on some of these data. But again, a lot we can discuss behind the tent. All right.
I hope that's the last question. Any burning question? I'm not seeing any hand. Okay. Oh, let it be brief, and that will be the last question. Yes. Very brief and precise.
Okay. My name is Manuel. As a recipient of agricultural advisory from both Simon and Simon, is there a likelihood that in the near future that you get that information as in a more specific format? Case example, you as a farmer in this region are likely to experience extreme El Nino effects in the next 2 months, so don't plant your maize now.
Yeah, I think I can confirm that is happening right now because Simon and Simon work together collaboratively.
Yes.
We do not send an advisory that tells you about a crop variety. We send you what we call integrated weather and market advisory. That tells you it's going to rain this and this date. We are away from the edge where we would say it's going to rain, then as a farmer, what do you do with that information? We tell you it's going to rain this amount, and then we tell you the reason why we are telling you is because these varieties are the ones can work well with such kind of weather parameters. And like I said, we are looking at onboarding more data sets so that the advisory continues being integrated, and not just single-faced. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Boniface. Thanks a lot. A big round of applause to our speakers once again. Yeah. And please, I mean, they're going to be around after lunch, so please feel free to reach out to them, set up your own connections and meetings. So with that, we have come to the conclusion. Just a few closing remarks before we proceed to lunch. All sessions are recorded and available on the event platform, which is the ICTforAg platform. Oh, there are some questions on the chat?
Yeah.
How do you want?
Online people saying that.
Yeah. And also, the details of all the speakers are available on the event platform. Please feel free to write to them, reach out to them. They should be able to clarify. This is not the end of the conversation. We hope. So that actually leads me to some closing notes. All the sessions have been recorded, are available on the event platform. And if you have spoken on one of the sessions, you have an opportunity to promote your session where people can actually register online on ICTforAg.com. They should be able to see all the recordings. And after 30 days from today, today is 30th of May. So by 30th of June, all the recordings from these presentations will also be uploaded onto YouTube, right? So all the content. So this is in spirit of our commitment towards opening up all content, data, and ideas. And more importantly, I think the fact that you have some questions and the fact that we are committed to ensuring that some of those questions get answered or routed to the people who have spoken, we would all urge you to join the ICTforAg learning community. It's pretty simple. I am sure you see that particular piece of paper called ICTforAg on each of the tables. So it's a very simple registration process. So that's your opportunity to sort of log on to the community and be able to sort of interact and have a conversation with the people that you wanted to speak with. So Femi is holding that up there. And last but not the least, please network, sign up, engage, and do not wait until the next event to sort of get your questions clarified. So those are some closing remarks, and let me quickly do a very quick round of vote of thanks. First and foremost, I'd like to thank my colleague Akshata and Kanika. Maybe you can stand up. These are the two fantastic people. Sorry? You can announce once I'm done. Yeah. Okay. So that is, and next, and I'd also like to acknowledge the presence of my good friend Matt Manning, with whom I sort of have a good history of working for the last 10 years. He's the one who really ensured that this becomes a truly global event, because, you know, a lot of times you would have noticed we've been very strict with the time. It's not on purpose. It's because, you know, there are global audiences who are watching this event from all over the world. So he really struggled a lot to ensure that the audio visual from this room networks real time, and so people all over are able to consume this event. So big round of thanks to Matt and his entire team who sort of enabled all the fantastic audio visual and all the logistics around it. I'd also like to thank my colleagues from ILRI, like Hung particularly. You've been sitting through all this event, and Julie, Rupsha, Kelvin, Ambika, and all the fantastic colleagues of ILRI who really committed their time, made fantastic presentations, made that effort to sort of have this outreach to all the audience and ensure that our work is connected back to them. Also, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues from the Sustainable Livestock Systems team, Joy and Beth, who are not here, and Alex, who all pulled all the logistics around the event together, and particularly Edwin, who's sitting up there. He's been here at 7 a.m. and sitting through all the way till 7 p.m. in ensuring, him and his colleague who've ensured that, we have had, there were some troubles, but largely it's been, I think, a great event in terms of the logistics and all the the bells and whistles that had to work. And last but not the least, also our catering team and all the logistics teams at ILRI, who've the security team, who have all helped us make this a grand conference. And last but not the least, thank you once again to USAID, DAI, who are the guys who have actually put in the money and enabled all this work to happen. Once again, my acknowledgement and gratitude to Dr. Jawuku and Andrea, who are the leads and co-leads of the 1CGR Digital Innovation Initiative, which is also co-funding this particular event, and all the fantastic partners in Nairobi, Agra, Kenya Space Agency, Kilimo, Hakika, Kuza, and Mercy Corps, and our grandfather, who really helped us make this an engaging event. With that, thanks a lot, and we hope we continue the conversation. We hope there is another ICTforAg Nairobi next year as well. Hope to see all of you. But this is a great sign. Day 2, 2 p.m. just before lunch. If so many people are in the room, I feel very good about it. I think we've done a good job in putting a good content together. Last announcement for me, you need to make it quick because people are hungry. They need to go to lunch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Ram. So quick announcement about the ICTforAg Learning Network. We know that this is a conversation that will not end here, and this is why the Learning Network is set up. It's a community where we can all join. So in the next 1 hour, we'll be starting a virtual section, community spotlight section, where you have more details and about the Learning Network, all that is there for you. So thank you very much, and see you in the next 1 hour. Thank you.
And I must clap for all of you. You're like 2 p.m. You're still on day 2. Fantastic. Thanks a lot, guys. Means a lot to all of us. Yeah, means a lot to the team. Thank you. Okay. The lunch is at the same place as it was yesterday. So just walk through the door to the right. You'll find the tents. Yeah. Thank you, Boniface. Thanks a lot. Cheers.